Welcome to Straight to the Point. Today we are going to be talking about our 1 week review of the iPhone 14 Pro Max. This review is going to go ahead and be for the average person, for everyday use. I'm going to talk about the good and the bad, what I like about it, what I dislike about it, should you upgrade to it. Let's jump right into it. So for the average person, first thing you see is going to go ahead and be the screen. You're going to be surprised by the dynamic island and a 2000 nit screen, which is the iPhone's brightest screen ever made. Other than that, it's the same exact screen as every other phone, just really bright, and it has dynamic island. Next up, you're going to go ahead and have the 48 megapixel camera. Okay, that's a very good camera. That's probably one of the only things I like about the phone. For everyday use, I do take a lot of pictures and stuff. Next up, it's very customizable. This phone is now customizable. You could change the background of the screen. Now you can change the font, and you can also change the color to any color you would like. By the way, this screen is very fluid. Because of the 120 Hz refresh rate on the screen's very good. I like it. It's fluid and flush. But for the average person, is that necessary to upgrade? I mean, to be honest, no, not really. So now we're going to go ahead and get into the phone. Dynamic island, right? Is it really worth the hype? So I'm playing music right here, and turn off the volume because I don't want to play copyright strikes, you know? So we're playing music. Let's play some music, turn down the volume, and then we're gonna go ahead and throw on a timer. Okay, 12 minutes. All right, so now it has this, the UI split, and the interface is really nice. I like it. To be honest, for the everyday person, am I gonna be using this a lot? To be honest, no. I have barely touched the dynamic island. To be honest, I haven't even used it. I don't tap the dynamic island to go to music because honestly, I just, I go right there. DJ Khaled. To be honest, do I use the dynamic island? Honestly, I have not found myself to use it at all. It's very convenient, but I have a Pro Max. One hand, I can't reach all the way to the top. The thing about this phone is that it's just too big, the iPhone 14 Pro Max. When I'm using it at work, I gotta slide my hand all the way down with a high chance of it falling and then tap it with one hand, It just hasn't, I haven't really used it because the phone's just too big. So if you want to get the iPhone 14 Pro, I would just stick with the smaller model because I've held the iPhone 14 Pro and your hand can actually reach it. You don't have a high chance of it falling off your hand when you're using a one-handed. Going to the next review, the camera. This camera takes some really good pictures. I'm going to be honest. I know a lot of people are going to say that comparing it pixel to pixel with the iPhone 13 Pro Max or the 13 Pro, it's all the same thing. This camera has really taken some neat pictures, I'm gonna be honest. I've been using this camera heavy and it's been doing its job. I wouldn't say it's a reason to go ahead and upgrade from the 13 Pro Max since, I didn't get the 13 Pro Max. I had the 12 Pro Max. I didn't get the 13 because honestly, there was no reason for me to upgrade, to be honest. But I went from the 12 Pro Max to the 14 Pro Max, and it's a big difference from the 12 Pro Max to God dang it, Bobby! I didn't get the 13 Pro Max, but for the average person like me who's upgrading from the 12 Pro Max to the 14 Pro Max, it was a big difference. For the everyday person, if you're doing it for the camera and you're upgrading from like a lower model from like the 12 or something, or even the 13, the regular 13, I would go ahead and upgrade, it's worth it. The one thing about the battery on this phone is it does last a long time. And I don't compare, I'm not that stingy when it comes to comparing neck and neck battery life or any of that. But the one thing I can say is that the battery is going to drain. The reason why is because it has a lot of technology in it. It has a screen that does 2000 nits, the most brightest screen Apple has ever created. So it's got a lot of technology in it. The A16 chip, a powerhouse. The reason why everyone's complaining about, oh, get the iPhone 14 Plus because it has a longer battery life. I'm just going to say it. The reason why is because it's a solid, high-tech, big screen with a huge chip in it that's just draining the hell out of the phone. I'm just saying it right there. That's why this phone doesn't have a big battery life compared to the 13 Pro Max or anything like that. But for the average person, does that really matter? To me, it doesn't matter. I don't care about that kind of stuff. I just want a phone that's going to last. It's high-tech. It looks nice. It has a good camera. For me, it's everything I wanted. Compared to the 12 Pro Max, it is worth the upgrade because, to be honest, it's worth it from the 12 Pro Max, and especially since I'm in it for the camera, okay? The UI, I don't really care about because I hardly even use it because my hand can't reach all the way to the top because it's a Pro Max. and I usually use only one hand to get there, and I can't even reach it. But I don't really use the dynamic island. For the average person, I hardly think you're going to use it. Unless you're using two hands, then it's going to be useful. So do I recommend upgrading to the iPhone 14 Pro Max? I would say no. I would say go ahead and get the iPhone 14 Pro because it has everything that the Pro Max has. And I just think that if you really want to take into consideration of using the dynamic island, I would get the iPhone 14 Pro, the smaller one, because you'll be able to use it one hand. It's a great phone. It has not let me down. The expectations were high for me, and honestly, it did really good on beating those expectations. The thing about this is that I did not know that Apple was going to go ahead and make you would be able to interact with the notch, which that's why I bought the Pro Max, because I was all like, I like big phones. If you like a big phone and you like using one hand, Dynamic Island is going to kind of be useless if you only use one hand and you're at work or something for everyday use. I just don't see it as useful. To me, is it worth an upgrade from the 13 Pro Max? I would say no. Camera-wise, I would say no, because like I said, if you're going to go ahead and Apple comparison, it's not really that big of a change. But upgrading from the 12 or the 11 or the 10, if you want to see a big difference, that A16 chip, the camera, dynamic island, it's all beautiful. That's the review of an average everyday person. I hope you guys liked the video. This is straight to the point, and I'll see you guys in the next video.